This video teaches you useful advanced vocabulary that you can use to become more fluent in English conversations or be successful in English exams. Not just random words like this one. No, these words have been carefully selected so you can use them in real life situations. Now for these advanced English words. 10 useful C2 adjectives. The first word is perplexing, and it's pronounced like this: perplexing, perplexing. This word means difficult to think about, and it's an adjective. So imagine that you are trying to make a decision about which clothes to wear. There's so many you could wear. You're finding it difficult to decide. So you could say, I find all the possible choices rather perplexing. The next word is quaint. Quaint. Something that's quaint is attractive and old-fashioned or unusual, and we use it as an adjective. So imagine you go to an old village with pretty brickwork, pretty windows, pretty streets. It's quite a small village, and afterwards you say this about the village: I thought the village was rather quaint. The next word is laid back, and it's pronounced like this: laid back. If you're laid back, it means you're very relaxed about most things. This person here is really laid back. She won't mind what you do. She's very laid back. She's not worried about anything. The next word is enchanting. Enchanting. Enchanting is something beautiful and also appealing in some way, and we use it as an adjective. Imagine this. What do you think when you see this view? Well, you could describe it in the following way. There's an enchanting castle at the top of the hill because it's so beautiful and it's appealing to us when we look at it. Next is dicey. Dicey. If something is dicey, then you're describing something risky or unreliable, and this is an adjective. Would you drive on roads like these? Perhaps you'll know someone who'll say this: be careful on that road, it's dicey in the snow. The next word is repulsive. Repulsive. If something is repulsive, it makes you feel disgusted or perhaps unwell, or maybe both, and it's an adjective. What do you think when you look at bread like this? Would you eat it, or would you say the following: I'm taking the mouldy bread back to the shop. It's absolutely repulsive. This advanced word has several meanings. Contingent. Contingent. Contingent can mean the following. As an adjective, it can mean depends upon or accidental. As a noun, it can be a group with common features. Let's look at one of the adjective meanings. Imagine that you are thinking of buying this house. Is it easy to buy a house? Well, sometimes you need enough money. So you could say, buying this house is contingent upon me earning enough money. The next word is impulsive. Impulsive. If you are impulsive, then you do this. You have immediate actions without thought. You don't think about the next thing, you just do it. And this is an adjective. What's this lady just been doing? Well, it looks like she's been to the shops. And have you ever been to the shops and bought something you didn't plan to buy? What happened is this: I'm an impulsive buyer. I'm always buying things I don't need. This lady walked into a shop, she saw something and she was impulsive. She just bought it straight away without any extra thinking. Obsessive. Obsessive. If you are obsessive, you're thinking about or doing something too much, and this is an adjective. For example, is there a game that you play over and over and over again? Many hours every day. Is it too much? For these people here, they might say this: I've become quite obsessive about winning the game. I think about it, I want it too much. The next word is chronic. Chronic. We use the word chronic as an adjective for something that's recurring and long-term, but always in a negative sense. For example, look at this field. It used to produce apples, but there have been forest fires, and as a result, there'll be a chronic shortage of apples this year. Phrases for intentions. In this part of the lesson, we're going to start to look at some useful idioms. Now, idioms are really good for conversations in formal writing and in speaking exams when you're having a conversation with another person or with the examiner. But they're not so useful with formal writing, so make sure you use them for those first three purposes. The first word is a bridge too far, and this means one thing too many. For instance, look at the picture here. Someone is trying to climb a cliff, which is a steep bit of land next to the sea. This person's been very successful in climbing other cliffs, but this one is really difficult. And he says this: climbing the tallest cliff was a bridge too far for us. It was one thing too many. I could do the other things, but I couldn't do this one. It was a bridge too far. Another useful idiom is at all costs. At all costs. And this means do anything to achieve something. Let's imagine you're going out for the evening and you've made your hair look really nice. But now it's starting to rain and you're worried that the rain is going to spoil your hair. And you will do anything to stop your hair getting spoiled. So you say this to the person you're with: keep my hair out of the rain at all costs. Explore all avenues means to investigate any opportunity or possibility connected to what you're doing. For example, with a detective in the police force who's trying to solve a crime, there may be many different ways in which they can explore the crime to find out what the cause was. And they may say to the person in charge, you need to explore all avenues to solve this crime. You need to go in every direction possible. Fight tooth and nail. If you fight tooth and nail, it means you make as much effort as possible to get something. Have you ever been in this activity before? We call this a tug of war, when you have a rope and a few people try and pull the rope one way and the others pull the other way. You have to pull as hard as possible. And perhaps to motivate your team, you might say this: come on, we need to fight tooth and nail to win this battle. And this means give everything you have, put all the effort in possible, fight tooth and nail. Get up and go. We say that someone has a lot of get up and go to mean they have a lot of energy and motivation. We use it like a noun phrase. Here's an example of how we might use it. This man here has a lot of get up and go. He always wakes up early to go for a run. He has all the energy and motivation to do the activity. Go the extra mile is to do more than what is required, and this is usually for good reasons. Have you got a friend who goes the extra mile for you? In this picture, my friend went the extra mile on my birthday. She bought me flowers as well as a card. So this friend did more than what was necessary, more than what was expected to do something positive for the other person. Now, advanced phrases about the home. Have you heard of this phrase? Drive the point home. This means to make something clear, but with some extra force. Here's an example. This man at the front here is a lecturer, and he is driving the point home. He's talking about a particular topic, and he talks about it in lots of different ways to make sure the students remember the point. And at the end of it, the students could say this: the lecturer drove the point home by showing us a series of slides. Another idiom about the home is this one: nothing to write home about. Nothing to write home about is used when we're talking about something not very interesting or impressive. We don't need to tell anyone because it's just not worth it. It wasn't interesting enough. This team have just won, but they were lucky. Their performance was nothing to write home about. They did what they needed to do, but it wouldn't be very interesting. There was nothing noteworthy or particularly special about it. Nothing to write home about. On the home straight is a phrase we use to mean at the last point before finishing. You'll sometimes hear this in motor racing commentary. These cars have been racing around the track for ages, but now they're at the end. The cars are on the home straight. It's the last bit of the track before they finish the race. The cars are on the home straight. Who's going to win? Home truths. When we use home truths, we mean something true, but which the recipient may not want to hear. Like this: why do you keep spending all your money straight away? You need to learn some home truths. So here, this person is not behaving in an appropriate way. Perhaps they get all their money at the beginning of the month and then they spend it all straight away, and they have to borrow money in order to buy food or pay bills at the end of the month. They need to learn some home truths about how to manage their money. To feel at home or to be at home, often with something, means to be comfortable or familiar. Look at this group of people here. The lady on the right might say this: I really feel at home in this group. Everyone is so nice. So she feels comfortable. She feels accepted. She feels as if she belongs. She feels at home. Or she could say, I am at home here. Now for advanced phrases with talk. Have you heard of this one? Straight talking. When you do straight talking, it means to talk simply with honesty. These two people are in a deep conversation. They came across some problems, maybe because they did not talk properly or honestly with each other before. So now they say this: we need to do some straight talking so we can find out where things went wrong. So here they need to talk honestly, openly, clearly in order to resolve the situation. Straight talking. Another idiom with talk is to talk 19 to the dozen. This is a quite informal phrase that means to talk really quickly. Do you know anyone like this? It often happens when people are excited. This lady has just bought a car and she was so excited She was talking 19 to the dozen about her new car. And that meant she just couldn't stop talking about it. She talked about it over and over again, really quickly. Give someone a talking to is when you tell someone off. It often happens with a parent and a child. The child has broken perhaps some rules in the house. So the mother says this, I'm going to give you a talking to about breaking the rules. If you give a pep talk, it means that you give a strong motivational talk, often in teams when they're in the middle of doing something. Here, this man is giving his team a pep talk. And the people who are in the team at the end, if they're asked what was the coach talking about, could say this. The coach gave us a pep talk on how to beat our opponents. If you talk the hind legs off a donkey, this means you talk so much it is tiring for the listener. It's quite an informal phrase. Let me explain what it literally means. A donkey is a small type of horse, and the hind legs are the back legs. And this is a phrase that's often used when we really want to exaggerate the point that someone talks so much. For example here, how does this man feel? His boss is talking to him, giving him instructions. But she's talking so much that he feels tired by it. And he's thinking this, my boss can talk the hind legs off a donkey. I need a rest. And this idiom is really specific to the UK and England. If you talk for England, it means you could talk for a very long time indeed. It's quite an informal phrase to use. This man is talking for England. He's a new receptionist. The lady on the left is thinking this. I like the new receptionist, but he can talk for England. I can never get a word in. And here are some more amazing idioms for conversations. The first one is have some qualms about. Have some qualms about. This is when you have some minor worries or concerns about something, but you're not extremely worried. You just want to share something that you think may be a little bit wrong. Would you have some qualms about driving this car? It's clearly had an accident. If you do, then you'll say this. I have some qualms about driving this car. I'm worried it's not safe. The next word is looking rosy. If things are looking rosy, then they are going in a positive direction. This family's life is looking rosy. They say this, everything's looking rosy. I love my job. I have a great family. My home is beautiful. Life is looking good if things are looking rosy. Here's another phrase. Can't make head nor tail of it. This means can't understand the problem. It's something that's confusing or baffling. You try to work it out, but it just doesn't seem to make sense to you. Do you think you'd feel like that if you were faced with this blackboard of maths problems? Can you make head nor tail of complicated maths? This lady can't. She said this, I couldn't make head nor tail of the maths lesson. Do you know this idiom? It slipped my mind. If something slips your mind, it means that you forgot about it. The lady in the left is upset because the lady on the right forgot her birthday. The lady on the right is trying to make things better. And she says this, I'm so sorry I forgot your birthday. It completely slipped my mind. Have you ever been to the shops and seen something that's really expensive that you want? If it's really expensive for you, you can say it cost a fortune. If something costs a fortune, it means a large amount of money. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes cars and you want to buy a really expensive car, but the problem is it's too much money. So you tell your friends, I'd love to buy that fast car, but I can't. It costs a fortune. The next idiom is similar, but with a slight difference. Ripoff. A ripoff means that something, again, costs too much money, but the problem here is that you have been charged too much money. The value that you're asked to pay is more than the actual value of the product. Now, what's interesting about rip-off is it can be a verb. I have been ripped off. In other words, I've paid more than I should for something. But it can also be a noun. That is a rip-off. I don't like the price. I think that price is too high. In our example, we look at the noun. Have you been into a shop and tried to buy some clothes? Maybe a jacket, as we see here, or maybe a dress in another part of the shop. And you say, I'm not buying that dress. The price is a rip-off. In other words, it's too much money for what I should pay for the dress. How about this one? Hit the nail on the head. When you hit the nail on the head, you don't actually use a hammer and a nail. This is to do with your words. It means you say exactly what is true in a certain situation, perhaps where there's disagreement. Someone will say something that's just the right thing to say, and that will be hitting the nail on the head. This lady has far too much to do. She's typing. She's looking at a tablet. She's got a mobile phone in one hand, a normal phone in another hand, and various bits of food. So when someone comes up to her and says, I think you've got too much to do, she says, you hit the nail on the head when you said, I've got too much to do. When you bump into someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you physically bump. It doesn't necessarily mean you connect with them, perhaps with your arm or your shoulder. It simply means that you meet someone unexpectedly. Have people ever been late for you? And do they ever give this as a reason? Sorry we're late. We bumped into some old friends. In other words, we were walking towards your house and then unexpectedly we met some new friends and we spoke with them for a while, and that's why we're late. If you brighten up someone's day, you make someone's day much, much better. Has anyone ever bought you a nice present, like some flowers here? Flowers often brighten up someone's day. Here, the lady has bought flowers, perhaps it's for a mother. And the mother says, you've really brightened up my day. Thank you so much. Smash it can mean that you break something, but it can also mean something else, the meaning that's given here. Go far beyond the goals you needed to achieve something. If you smashed it, you didn't just succeed, you succeeded by a long way. This man has smashed it. He says this, I passed with the top grade. I absolutely smashed it. And if you have a fighting chance, then you definitely have a good chance to win something. In this game, the team, which you can see, are losing, but they're still in with a fighting chance. So, although they're losing, they could still win. There's still a good opportunity for them. And if you patch something up, it means to make something or make a relationship better. If you make a relationship better, it means that you get over old problems. If you patch up something materially, perhaps a piece of clothing, then it means you perhaps put a patch on it so that you fix it. These two people have patched it up. They had some problems, they disagreed, perhaps they were upset with each other, but now they're friends again, and they say this to each other: "I'm so glad we've patched things up." Have you heard of this phrase? Boils down to. When we use boils down to, we mean this: introduce the main point of something. This example will help here. Look at the game in the top right corner. Now, this is a game of chess. Normally there are lots of pieces, but now we have the last two pieces. And this is the point where someone is going to win, or maybe there'll be no winner. The result of the game depends on the final move. And therefore we can say this: it all boils down to the final move. This will decide who wins. Boils down to here means this is the main thing that's going on. The main thing is winning or losing, and this final move will lead to either winning or losing, or perhaps no winner at all. Here's a final selection of really useful advanced words. Succinct. Succinct. Succinct means without using many words, and it's an adjective. Have you been in a classroom and the teacher has told you you're using too many words when you write? They could say this to you: your writing needs to be more succinct. The next word is resourceful. Resourceful. Resourceful means you can find different ways to achieve goals. Have you met someone who just seems to be able to do all kinds of things and able to get things done in a variety of ways? Perhaps it's this lady here. One of her strengths is being resourceful. Sanity. Sanity. Sanity is the ability to think well, and this word is a noun. Do you ever go for walks in the park when you are having too much to think about and you're getting headaches and you're starting to think in strange ways? If that's you, then you could say this: a walk in the park every day helps me keep my sanity. The word irritable means easily annoyed, and it's an adjective. This lady here is getting really upset about things today. And maybe she'll say this: I don't know what's wrong with me. I just feel irritable. The next word is perceptive. Perceptive. And this means you can see things others cannot see. And this is an adjective. This person has a job where they have to look at things really, really carefully. And the reason is this: you are so perceptive, I would never have noticed. This person just sees things that other people don't always see. This could be to do with seeing things physically, or it can be to do with feeling things. You can be perceptive because you pick up on how people are behaving and feeling. Perpetrator. Perpetrator. A perpetrator is a person who commits a crime, and it's a noun. Here's some police looking at the evidence for a crime. They're trying to catch the person who did it. If you want to know the results of the investigation, you might ask this: do the police know who the perpetrator was? Have you heard of this word? Iconic. Iconic. If something is iconic, it's famous in a particular place or time. Have you ever been to a music concert and seen someone really famous? In many parts of the world, this person is considered iconic. Taylor Swift has become an iconic singer for this generation. Warped. Warped. Warped refers to things which are unusual, bent and not nice. And here bent can mean something that's physically bent, or someone in terms of their behaviour who is not usual. They are bent in a bad way. Their behaviour doesn't look in a good way like most people's behaviour is. Sometimes we might refer to a criminal as being warped. We could say this: he has a warped idea of what is right and wrong. The next word is dynamic, and it's pronounced like this: dynamic, dynamic. Dynamic is when you are able to change or do different things, and it's an adjective. Imagine you're in a job interview and you're being asked, what are your most positive characteristics? And you might answer like this: I believe I am a dynamic individual. I am always ready for a new task. Next, prerequisite. Prerequisite. A prerequisite is a requirement before the next stage. This we use as a noun. Imagine you go to a travel agency and you're asking them, what are all the things I need to do before I can get on the plane for my holiday? And they could answer this: wearing a mask is a prerequisite for travelling on this plane.